Hey, and thanks for tuning in to my second video. First of all, I really appreciate all the comments and the nice feedback on the last one. I wasn't honestly planning on doing a second video, but seems you guys liked it, and this time I'm gonna talk about balancing the Pocket 6K or 4K on the Ronin-S and some different configurations and setups you could use. The cages I'm using are gonna be from SmallRig because I don't have any other cages, and I'm only using the Pocket 6K in this video. I've tried all setups with both cameras and it all works, trust me on that one. And also both cameras are equally wide, which is the critical factor for this setup. As a lens, I'm using the Sigma 18-35mm. It's quite a popular lens, and also it's one of my heavier and longer lenses, and therefore quite a good challenge for balancing. As you know, the Ronin-S has motors for tilting, rolling and panning. Further, there are two more moving parts, which we're gonna call the side slider and front slider. When mounting the Ronin-S plate onto the camera, make sure you place the screws as far in the back of the plate as possible, because you're gonna need space in the back for balancing. Before you mount the camera on the Ronin-S, you want to make sure the roll axis arm is moved all the way to the right because of the wide camera body. Next, slide the camera onto the Ronin while holding the gimbal with the other hand. Start finding a first rough balance with the front and side sliders. But don't spend too much time there, you will most likely need to fine-tune it again at the end. Once it is level, tighten the lock and the knob on the back. Next, we can fine-tune the tilt axis. If it's flipping back to the initial position, it is bottom heavy. If the camera seems to be balanced but is flipping over, it is top heavy. So in either case, we need to change the center of gravity by moving the tilt axis arm up or down. This part can be tricky because sometimes all it takes is half a millimeter of moving it, so be patient. If you can face the camera up and down and it stays there, you have balanced it properly. Now, if needed, you can fine-tune the balance by adjusting the front and side sliders again. The last thing we need to balance is the pan axis. Grab the grip and tilt it to the side and to the back. If the camera spins around, you will need to adjust the pan axis arm. If the camera doesn't spin around, you're done. Now let's move on to the specific configurations. We're gonna begin with just the camera and the lens, no cage and no motor. For the configuration without a cage, you will need to use an offset plate, otherwise you won't be able to mount the camera on the Ronin at all. I don't have an offset plate, but for demonstration purpose I will use this riser plate from DJI, which is shipped with the Ronin-S standard kit. This piece allows you to mount the Ronin-S plate further to the camera right. I do not recommend using this plate though, since it slightly puts the camera off level. I would recommend using a real offset plate by SmallRig or Lanparte. Now you should not have any problems sliding the camera onto the gimbal thanks to the offset plate. When using the camera with the SmallRig half cage, it will be easier since you have a lot more mounting options. For this particular setup, I recommend using these two threads. Screw on the plate and remember to slide it to the front. Now you can easily balance the camera on the Ronin-S going through the steps explained before. In the next setup, I'm gonna mount a focus motor. In this case, it's the Tilta Nucleus-N, and I'm going to mount it on the top of the cage. This is just one way of mounting it. There are tons of accessories and ways of doing it. You can also check my previous video. So now we have a bit of additional weight on top, which changes the center of gravity. We need to lower the camera by moving the tilt axis arm and do some minor adjustments on the side and front sliders. Other than that, no problem. On the full cage, use these threads to get the best balance. That's it. You can rewatch the balancing tutorial for this configuration. In this last setup, I will use the full cage again, but this time with the focus motor used before. No big difference there, just some minor adjustments again on the tilt arm and the side and front sliders. Okay, I think we have covered the most common setups. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. If you wanna see videos about certain topics or questions, also let me know. And thanks for watching. If you found it helpful, hit the like button. If you wanna see more stuff like that, subscribe to the channel, and see you soon.